March 2002. It's strange, I just remember that date quite clearly. I was talking on the phone to an old friend of mine, a guy called Martin White. And like me, he's got his own personal website. And just in passing, he told me that he had built a weblog into his site. Now, I knew what a weblog was, but I'd always dismissed it. I just thought they were kind of personal journals. And I said that to him, and he said, David, he said, you really ought to go and take another look. He says, there's a little bit more to them. Now, the reason I had dismissed weblogs as personal journals is because that's really fundamentally what a weblog is. A weblog is essentially a personal website that people can capture in reverse chronological order, thoughts, ideas, what they did last night, what have you. It's an online personal journal. That's the easiest way of describing a weblog. Though, as I'll explain, in reality, there's a lot more to it. So I had dismissed them because I wasn't interested in personal journals. Yep. So, but I went to the web to take a look, and at first, the first weblogs I came across were just that. They were personal journals, or some of them were very interesting ones. But then, as they say, I hit pay dirt. I came across a weblog that just blew me away. And it was unusual for a weblog because it was actually written, co-authored by 3 individuals. Most weblogs are, again, being a personal journal, it's one person. This weblog had been created by 3 men. Dan Bricklin, Bob Frankston, and David Reed. Now, you've probably never heard of those 3 guys. I knew these 3 guys. I knew all 3 of them when I worked for Lotus Development in the States. They were 3 of the brightest techie nerds, if you will, on the planet. Say Dan Bricklin invented the spreadsheet, Bob Frankston was a co-developer, and David Reed was the chief architect for Lotus 123, when I was at Lotus back in the early 90s. Here, I'd found a weblog where they weren't blogging their personal lives. They were blogging around technology. So what I was seeing was them thinking out loud. I was seeing them capturing their insights, their thoughts, their ideas on technology, on internet technology. These weren't formally written papers. They were half-baked ideas, musings, half-baked thoughts, comments on other people, links to other websites, links to other people who they thought were interesting. They were sharing their knowledge with the rest of the world in a very informal way. And I realized then immediately that weblogs were fundamentally personal knowledge sharing tools. And that just blew my mind. All of a sudden, I realized just how important they were. And within a day, I had built my own weblog and incorporated it and integrated it into my own site. And I've been blogging really on and off ever since. Weblogs at one level are very simple tools. You're just basically capturing information in reverse chronological order. And you can use those tools, you can use a weblog as a tool in many, many different ways. The way that interests me and excites me, as I explained, is this ability to use it as a personal knowledge sharing tool. And often you're doing that on the internet with anybody else, anywhere else in the world who might care to share their knowledge with you. But within an organization, you can use it in the same way at a personal level. But there are other ways you can use it too. Let's say you have got some projects within your organization. Most organizations do. You might use it as a project reporting mechanism. And maybe rather than the project manager creating a short project report once a week, that project manager could actually blog what's been going on the project once a day or even several times a day. It becomes a log of what's been going on that project. So you could have a log that was capturing information from the project manager. You could open that weblog up to everybody else in the project so they could actually add their comments and thoughts as well. Or you could even give them individual weblogs that they could all access and share. It depends on what you're trying to achieve and what the culture's like in the organization. So you can use them as a project management tool, if you will, but as an informal project management tool. Again, the whole thing about weblogs is that they're very, very personal. If you look at them, you'll find that people are talking in the first person. They're talking very informally. These aren't formal mechanisms of communication. When I think myself about knowledge management, I personally have a problem with a lot of the corporate type approaches where you're taking knowledge and you're capturing it and you're putting it in Word documents, you're putting it in spreadsheets, you're putting it in databases and storing it in a very formal way and in a way that depersonalizes the knowledge. What I find exciting and useful about weblogs is that it makes that knowledge personable. And that's the best sort of knowledge. As soon as you strip knowledge of its context, I want to know who's writing this. I want to know something about the person and something about the background, because that gives me a whole lot of context to set that knowledge in. I will weight the knowledge differently depending, who it is that's actually written about it. And so this whole idea of the weblogs being informal, capturing sort of half-baked ideas, musings, insights, I find a lot more powerful than depersonalized corporate turgid stuff that you get there in some of these databases. But also what the blogs are doing, they're connecting people. It's about networking. It's about getting to know the people that matter and getting to grips with ideas and thoughts and insights. So it's very informal and it works because that's, again, it comes back to what I've been saying, I think, all along. It's working at the personal level. And if that was one message I was trying to leave anybody with, it would be kind of get personal. Knowledge is fundamentally personal. You can't strip it and put it in databases and what have you. It really only becomes alive when it's part of an individual.